A pestilence ravaged the land. The Red Death, they called it, a name whispered with terror. Sharp pains, dizziness, then crimson stains on the skin, harbingers of a swift, gruesome demise. Entire villages became charnel houses. The stench of decay choked the air. No physician, no prayer could halt its advance. Amidst this panorama of horror, Prince Prospero, a man of extravagant tastes and iron will, remained unmoved. He believed himself above such earthly woes.
Gather close, my friends. We shall find sanctuary within these walls, away from the scourge that plagues the land.
Prospero, gathering 1,000 of his closest nobles, retreated to a fortified abbey deep within his dominion. High walls, iron gates and vigilant guards sealed them from the outside world. The abbey, a testament to Prospero's wealth and eccentricity, became a gilded cage. Within its walls, life continued, a grotesque mockery of the suffering beyond. Here, amidst lavish feasts, music and laughter, Prospero sought to defy the Red Death, to outrun fate itself. The abbey's interior was an architectural marvel, a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, each more opulent than the last. But it was the 7 interconnected rooms, each a different color, that truly captivated the senses. Blue, purple, green, orange, white, violet. These hues bathed the rooms in an otherworldly glow. The last, however, was draped entirely in black, its ebony walls broken only by a single blood-red window. This room, imbued with a palpable unease, remained largely untouched. Even the revelers, lost in their hedonism, seemed to instinctively avoid its oppressive aura.
Let us celebrate life, my friends. Tonight we cast aside our worries and embrace the joy that life offers us. In this grand hall we are free from the shadows that haunt the outside world. We shall laugh in the face of death, for tonight we are invincible, untouchable by the fears that plague others. Our masks are not just for disguise, but symbols of our defiance.
As weeks bled into months, a strange tension gripped the abbey's inhabitants. The once lively corridors now echoed with whispers of dread. The laughter that once filled the air was now tinged with an undercurrent of unease. The outside world, with its horrors, seemed a distant nightmare. Yet the walls of the mansion could not entirely keep out the creeping sense of doom. The fear of the unknown, of the unseen, began to seep into their hearts. Yet the fear of the Red Death lingered, a spectre haunting their gilded cage. It was a silent, invisible presence, always lurking in the corners of their minds, reminding them of their mortality. Prospero, determined to banish all thoughts of mortality, announced a masked ball. He believed that through revelry and opulence, they could escape the grim reality that awaited outside. A grand spectacle to celebrate life, to mock the spectre of death that loomed just beyond their walls. The preparations were elaborate, with every detail meticulously planned to ensure a night of unparalleled splendor. The night of the ball arrived. The mansion was transformed into a wonderland of lights and colors, a stark contrast to the darkness that lay beyond its gates. The 7 rooms pulsed with music, laughter, and the clinking of goblets. Each room, decorated in a different color, created a surreal and enchanting atmosphere. The guests, hidden behind elaborate masks, surrendered to the intoxicating allure of the moment. They danced and mingled, their identities concealed, their fears momentarily forgotten.
Such a splendid night, isn't it? The air is filled with magic and mystery. One can almost forget the troubles that lie beyond these walls.
Indeed, the prince has outdone himself. His vision has brought us a night of unparalleled beauty and joy. We are truly fortunate to be here.
A toast to life and laughter, and to our dear Prince Prospero. May his generosity and spirit continue to shield us from the darkness outside.
The revelry continued, each moment more decadent than the last. The night seemed endless, a dream from which no one wished to wake. But as the hours passed, a sense of foreboding began to creep in, unnoticed by the revelers lost in their merriment. The revelry reached its peak, a cacophony of laughter and music echoing through the grand halls of the haunted mansion. Wine flowed freely, cascading into goblets like crimson rivers, and inhibitions crumbled beneath the weight of music and revelry. The air was thick with the scent of aged spirits and the sound of clinking glasses. But in the shadowed corners, beneath the veneer of gaiety, lurked a growing unease. Whispers of dread floated through the air, mingling with the laughter. The clock chimed midnight, its toll resonating like a death knell. A hush fell over the crowd as a new figure emerged from the shadows of the black room, its presence commanding an eerie silence. Tall, gaunt, its face hidden behind a grotesque mask of death, the figure seemed to absorb the light around it, casting an ominous shadow.
What is this? A relic from the past or a harbinger of doom? Who dares to intrude upon our celebration? Who brings this darkness into our midst?
A collective gasp echoed through the hall, a wave of shock and fear rippling through the guests. The figure, silent and menacing, began to move through the crowd, its presence radiating an aura of palpable dread. Each step it took seemed to drain the warmth from the room, leaving a trail of cold terror in its wake. The masquerade of despair had truly begun. Panic spread like wildfire. The guests, their laughter turned to shrieks of terror, scrambled to escape the spectre's touch. Prospero, his face contorted with rage, drew his dagger and charged forward.
Who dares to mock us with this ghastly masquerade?
The figure, unfazed, continued its slow, deliberate advance. Prospero lunged his dagger, finding only empty air. The figure, with a swiftness that belied its gaunt frame, turned towards the prince. A collective gasp, a symphony of horror, rippled through the room. For in that moment the figure reached up and slowly removed its mask. Beneath it lay no mortal face. The Red Death, in all its gruesome reality, stared back at them. Crimson stains, the hallmark of the plague, marred the figure's pallid skin. Its eyes, vacant and cold, reflected the abyss of their terror.
Silence descended upon the abbey. The music ceased, the laughter died. Only the heavy panting of terrified souls and the echo of the last chime remained.
Panic erupted. The guests, their masks suddenly suffocating, surged toward the exits, only to find them barred. The abbey, once a sanctuary, had become a tomb. The figure, its silence more terrifying than any scream, began to move again. With each step, another guest succumbed, falling to the ground, the telltale red stains blooming on their skin. The air, thick with the stench of fear and decay, echoed with the desperate pleas of the dying and the horrified screams of those who watched their world crumble. One by one, the rooms fell silent. The blue room, then the purple, then green, each a stage for the same macabre dance of death.
Prospero, his bravado gone, cowered in the black room. He found no solace in the darkness, no escape from the relentless advance of the Red Death.
The figure entered the room, its presence heralded by the chilling silence that had fallen upon the abbey. Their eyes met, the princes filled with terror, the figures with the cold, indifferent gaze of death. In that moment, Prospero understood. There was no escaping fate. The Red Death, its gruesome task complete, stood alone amidst the fallen. The once vibrant and lively halls were now silent, the echoes of laughter and music replaced by an eerie stillness. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a grim reminder of the night's events. The abbey, once a beacon of revelry, was now shrouded in an oppressive silence, its air heavy with the stench of death. The grand halls that had once hosted lavish parties were now empty, their opulent decorations tarnished by the touch of death. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that had once filled the space. No laughter echoed through the 7 rooms, only the whisper of the wind whistling through the now empty arches. The once colourful and lively rooms were now ghostly and desolate, the vibrant tapestries and decorations now mere shadows of their former glory. The wind carried with it the faint echoes of the past, a haunting reminder of what once was. Outside, the world moved on, oblivious to the horrors that unfolded within. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the tragedy that had struck within the abbey's walls. The world continued to turn, indifferent to the suffering and death that had taken place. The Red Death had claimed its due. Its presence was a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. The figure, shrouded in darkness, had completed its task with a cold and unfeeling precision, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. The abbey, a monument to vanity and hubris, stood as a chilling testament to the indiscriminate reach of death, a stark reminder that no wall, no matter how high, can keep out the inevitable. The once grand and imposing structure was now a symbol of the futility of human efforts to escape their fate. The abbey's walls, once a source of pride and security, now stood as a grim reminder of the inescapable nature of death.